Hello and welcome, this is Old Man Pool. I'll be getting to the draft momentarily, but first I wanted to give you guys the results of last week's raffle. Just a reminder that before we begin, these codes were provided to me by Wizards of the Coast, and this is a sponsored event, so thank you to Wizards. But without further ado, our winners are Derek Harthcock, Eric Bosenberg, Trollace, Jason Brown, Chainsaw2757, Martin Lindwell, Dojon, Zachary Hofius, Kevin Dominic Suarez, and Randall Aaron. I'll be providing an email in the description below. If you're one of the lucky winners, send an email to me with a screenshot of you logged into your YouTube account and I'll send you a code. Thanks everyone so much for being a part of the channel. You guys are the best. There's no way I would have gotten these codes without all your support. So I'm really happy to give them back to you guys. And if you didn't win this round, never fear. I'll be back giving away more Arena Beta codes this week on twitch.tv/oldmanpool, starting at about 9 AM Pacific time on Thursday. I've been given the opportunity to use a special account provided to me by Wizards for their 100 streamers event. I'll have access to all the cards, so comment, I guess, with your most expensive, fanciest, craziest, most rare Mythic Fill deck lists, and I'll run through those. I definitely will do a couple of drafts as well, so if you guys can stop by for that, pick up a beta code, I'd love to see you. It'd be great to have some friendly faces on the dark landscape of Twitch. Hope to see y'all there. Thanks again, everyone. Here's the draft. Hello and welcome, this is Old Man Pool. I'm jumping into another M19 Draft League here today. Have a pretty unexciting rare out of this pack. Magistrate Scepter I don't think is remotely playable. Taking extra turns is powerful, but not so much when you have to spend, I guess, is this 15? Yeah, 15 mana to get the first one. And I guess on your extra turn you could pay the mana and maybe get a turn every other extra turn then, but that's pretty pricey. I don't think that's anything we can really afford to do in Limited or probably any format, honestly. Scattered Patrol is the best card in this pack, but it is 2 colors, which makes it a little bit tough to take first. We have 2 good removal spells in Strangling Spores and Shock, and then some like solid blue and white cards, Angel of the Dawn, Aviation Pioneer, Wind Mage, I think are all quite good. Fountain of Renewal is definitely playable in the life gain deck, and 2-headed zombies, probably okay if you're on the beatdown. I think I'm going to start out with Shock here. It's pretty close between that and Strangling Spores, and I could actually see that being incorrect since the format's a little bit slower and Strangling Spores does hit a few more important creatures. But Shock is just really hard to beat on efficiency. It'll answer your opponent's early plays, it often lets you double spell. Very good in a more aggressive deck. I think let's take that. Ooh, okay, and there's an Exclusion Mage to follow it up. There is a blue-red spells deck in the format, and I think that's pretty okay. Thud, I think, and Fire Elemental are pretty unexciting red cards. Thud can be good, I think, if you've got a lot of, like, either recursion, like Resembling Skeleton, or ways to steal your opponent's creatures temporarily, or whatever else, like Active Treason. But I don't really think it's a second pick here. This pack's a little bit unexciting. Elvish Rejuvenator, I think, is also in contention, I guess. But I kind of want to try and do, like, a blue-red deck. That sounds sweet. I think Exclusion Mage is a pretty easy pick here. So, now we've got a couple of good gold uncommons and Vivian's Invocation. Nothing really that jumps out as being great for our current picks. We could take Aerial Engineer. I've played the artifact deck a lot, though, so maybe I should shy away from that and try and show you guys a little bit more variety. Vivian's Invocation is definitely powerful. It's quite expensive. We'd have to work our way up there, but it's maybe a little bit of a signal. It definitely doesn't work well with Shock or Exclusion Mage. Like, you would play it in a deck with either of those, but it's not super synergistic. Brawl Bash Ogre can be quite good if you're on the aggressive. I guess it would work well with Shock. I think I'm tempted to take Vivian's Invocation. I actually haven't seen this card in play yet, but it seems powerful. I think that it is going to be worth 7 mana, assuming you can put together some pretty big creatures to go along with it. I guess let's take that. If you're in that deck, Druid of the Cal might just be better, but this is a nice finisher, and it's a rare. It sounds cool. So, the choices continue. We have Aviation Pioneer, which is super solid. Viashino Pyromancer, which is a pretty good 2-drop if we're going to try and be aggressive. Or Druid of the Cal if we're going to try and ramp a little bit more. I think I'm leaning towards Druid of the Cal here. Both Anaki Ogre and Viashino Pyromancer are cards you want in an aggressive deck, but I think they are relatively replaceable, even though I feel like I have a tough time getting 2-drops, enough 2-drops in this format a lot of the time. Aviation Pioneer is very solid in the Artifacts Matters deck, but again, I'd kind of rather not show that one unless it ends up being just the absolute open pick here. So let's take Druid of the Cal. I think that seems solid. Ooh, there's a Gutter Snipe. Also a Colossal Majesty. Guttersnipe's pretty cool. This is, I think, pretty good in a more aggressive, like I said, blue-red spells deck. We could lean in on that. This is one of my favorite cards from Return to Ravnica back in the day. Super, super fun. It's been reprinted a handful of times. Always been an all-star. Colossal Majesty is a good payoff. Works well with Vivian's Invocation and Druid of the Cal. I think I'm going to take Guttersnipe, though. I really want to try and make this blue-red deck work if we can. If we were just picking Absolute correctly, I think this is actually close, but it might be a Colossal Majesty. Let's take Guttersnipe. It sounds fun. Sounds sweet. And try and lean towards blue-red then. Okay, Snapping Drake is fine. Probably better than Aviation Pioneer if we don't have tons of Artifact Matter synergies. We really probably want a Trumpet Blast in a more aggressive deck. Totally Lost is playable, but not exciting. I think I'll take Snapping Drake. Seems solid. A good top-end finisher. Catalyst Elemental I don't think is particularly good. There's some okay white here. I think I'm just going to take Explosive Apparatus, though. This is not embarrassing. It's quite a bit worse than Shock, but I think you'll play it in a fair number of decks. Gearsmith Prodigy does work well with the Apparatus. I think you have to be pretty aggressive to be happy with this card, but I think there are decks that would play it, too. I think I might be leaning towards Ogre, although... Let's see. As it stands right now, we have no 2-drops on color. Prodigy is just really unexciting if we don't have an artifact. The Ogre's kind of whatever. I think it's still, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll take the Prodigy. Maybe if we had a couple more like Explosive Apparatus or something, we can get it to work. Okay, and even Wind Mage, the slate is pretty solid. Definitely something I'm looking to pick up. Probably want Disperse over Anticipate in this deck. Just anything tempo is our friend, I think. Take Tolarian Scholar. I guess I'll take a Frilled Sea Serpent now, though, and hope we're not playing it. Okay, Crash Through is something that we're pretty okay with, especially with Guttersnipe. I think we can hope for these to wheel most of the time, but I think I do want them. Okay, the dream is to hit another Guttersnipe here somewhere along the line. Ooh, Crucible of Worlds is pretty sweet. I don't think it's really a particularly good limited card, but this is a really, really fun reprint. I'm glad they brought it back. I think we're going to take Electrify here. Very solid removal. I think it's our best card out of the pack. Skyscanner's been impressive. There's another Druid of the Cal if we'd gone a little bit heavier towards green, but I think Electrify is pretty easy at this point. Psychic Corrosion, Volcanic Dragon, or Electrify number 2. Psychic Corrosion is not actually a real pick there. I always notice this because I like the mill deck so much. Scholar of Stars would be good if we had tried to do artifact synergies a little bit more. I think it's actually kind of close. Volcanic Dragon, despite being very expensive, is really, really good. You just hit your opponent over the head a lot of the time, and they take 4 out of nowhere. It can be a really good top-end finisher. I think Electrify is still better, but it's closer than you might guess. Ooh, Volley Veteran and Siegebreaker Giant. We have 1 Goblin so far. Volley Veteran is pretty good, although I think that Siegebreaker Giant is more powerful. This is a card I'd be happy to play, though. If the Giant wasn't in the pack, I think it would be the pick. Corruption Dragon's good as well, although a little bit less good, I think, if we're really trying to be aggressive. Siegebreaker Giant can really, really be the like, final nail in the coffin for your opponent, though, if you've gone fairly aggressively up the curve and finished with a Siegebreaker Giant. A lot of times they just cannot really answer. Okay, Havoc Devils, fine pickup here. We're not too heavy on 4s yet. I feel like the 4 slot often gets a little bit glutted, but not too bad yet. Fiery Finish is kind of expensive. It's actually a little bit interesting between Havoc Devils and Hostile Minotaur. I think Havoc Devils is a better card. Hostile Minotaur does provide a little bit more immediate pressure, though. Can surprise your opponent. I think the Havoc Devils is just a little bit better, though. Okay, Omen Speaker, not particularly fantastic. Some good green and white in this pack. Omen Speaker, I guess as a wizard, if we were playing Dominaria, it would have wizard synergies. But not too much else. We do need some 2-drops, though, in this 2-drop beatdown deck. I think I'm going to take Ogre, though. Omen Speaker is good, but I just don't think it's really on par. Okay, Goblin Instigator is a great 2-drop. Really what we're hoping to find here. If we play Trumpet Blast, which I think we probably will, it's good for that. If we happen to get that Goblin to come around, we'd definitely be happy with that. Probably won't, but... Okay, a Boggart Brute over Havoc Devils at this point. These are both pretty close, but I think that because the Boggart Brute's a little bit cheaper, we should skew in that direction. Let's take the Brute. Lightning Mare, very solid pickup here. Very aggressive 2-drop. Pretty happy this came back around for us. It's not like absurd, and if it's kind of hard to cast, so it's not always going to be a fantastic 2-drop, but I think it is something we're happy to play here. In a world of light on 2-drops. Nothing real exciting here. Guess I'll take Catalyst Elemental just to cut the color, but I'd really rather not play that. Active Treason's a nice sideboard option. There's some decks that just really ruins, and Smelt's actually a nice sideboard option too. If your opponent's playing lots of Gearsmith Guardians, Smelt really does get the job done. Ghost Form can be an okay finisher. Not in love with it, but we do have it as an option, I suppose, here. Okay. Ooh, okay, Dark Dweller Oracle. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I think we're just probably going to take that. This is a 2/2 for 2 with Goblin synergies, and also the ability to just turn bad creatures late into the game into potential removal spells and the like, and that can be pretty good. Goblin Motivator, I think actually might have a home in this deck, but I think the Dark Dweller Oracle is what we're in for. Ooh, an Enigma Drake, nice. How many spells do we actually have? A fair number, right? Like Electrify, Trumpet Blast. Actually, maybe not tons. Shock, Crash Through. Probably want to pick up more Crash Throughs. I do think Enigma Drake is a pretty easy pickup here, though. I mean, Salvager of Secrets is probably second, but I think it's a fairly distant second. Enigma Drake seems great. Sure Strike, definitely probably want that here. Essence, Scatter, and Divination are both good cards, but a little bit less on theme. Let's take a Sure Strike. Want some good combat tricks. Okay, so Tormenting Voice lets us pitch spells into the graveyard, which can be good. There's another Trumpet Blast and another Havoc Devils. Devils are pretty good. Maybe we're not unhappy having one more on the top end. Really still kind of light on 2s for an aggressive deck. I don't think we want to play Gearsmith Prodigy with how this is working out so far. I think we're going to have a lot of reach between Gutter Snipe and Enigma Drake and even like Trumpet Blast though. But yeah, I think 2-drops we need to pick pretty aggressively. I think I'm going to take the Havoc Devils here though. Okay, Aether Tunnel is high upside. I don't think it's fantastic though. It does get got by removal pretty bad. In aggressive deck, it gets a little bit better because a lot of times your opponent has to just remove everything as it's coming down, and if they run out of answers, then Aether Tunnel can really finish the job. I think Bogger Brute might just be a little bit stronger, though. So if we're not playing Tolarian Scholar, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-drops right now. It's trying to get a little bit on the high end, but Brute's pretty good. Okay, another Lightning Mare is pretty nice. Sure Strike seems solid, but I think the Lightning Mare is just better. When we can play this on turn 2, it's going to be quite exactly what we want, I guess. I totally lost to be fine, but we're just going to take the 2-drop, Yashino Pyromancer all the way here. Another Trumpet Blast. How many creatures are we going to end up with? Quite a good number, right? We could play a second one for sure. The other alternative is a Totally Lost, which is fine. It's kind of expensive, though. Trumpet Blast is definitely better if we've got a few more like Goblin Instigators in the deck, but it still can hit my opponent for a lot kind of out of nowhere. It's good with Gutter Snipe. I guess a lot of stuff's good with Gutter Snipe, but I think we want that over Totally Lost. Try and keep our curve low. I'm not sure we'll end up playing it, so maybe actually we want Trumpet Blast because there's the chance that, yeah, because there's the chance we'd want Totally Lost at some point. Probably gonna take Goblin Motivator over Ghost Form here. Motivator is very, very powerful in some draws, and probably is good enough in this deck that we should just run it, because once in a while, if you can play this on turn 1, it's just stupid good. And we may actually end up being pretty heavy towards red here. So we're starting to get to the point where like Lightning Mare is pretty easy to cast, and if we can consistently have a Mountain Goblin Motivator early on, it's going to be very solid. I don't know what to take here. I guess I'll take Plummet. Cinder Barons, not going to splash for anything. I guess maybe we should just take uncommons if we're not going to actually utilize these and get our wild cards out of the way. Don't think we ever want more Trumpet Blasts, although having one Ghost Form may not be terrible. I guess we already have one, though. Yeah, let's take Reliquary Tower. I don't think either of those are going to make the cut ever. Okay, well, cool. I think the deck looks reasonable. Didn't get, like, any absolute nuts late games pickups, but we are powerful. Right now, opponents or our deck is recommending 17 lands. I think we're going to try and go down to 16. Siegebreaker Giant is a good, like, finisher with lands at the end, but I think we can afford to be a little bit lower in the curve. Do like Crash Through, Apparatus seems fine. I think I want all of our 2-drops. The real question here is if we want to try and go a little bit lighter on blue. I think, unfortunately, perhaps, our blue is some of our more powerful cards. Like, I do like having Snapping Drake, Evenwind Mage, Enigma Drake, Exclusion Mage. They all seem pretty good. You maybe cut 1 Trumpet Blast. It's a little bit... It's a card that often you really want to draw 1 of, but is pretty bad if you draw 2. So maybe we'll cut 1 there. That means we're at 42 playables. We could cut 8 Havoc Devils on the top end. Let's see, if we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 3-drops. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops. And Goblin Motivator before that. Well, we're in a happy position of just having, like, some good cards here. I'm not really sure what to cut, but I think that's a good thing. Maybe Anaki Ogre is our worst 2. Or our worst 3. How many spells do we end up having for Gutter Snipe? We're not too bad, right? Only 8. If Gutter Snipe pings twice, though, I think I'm pretty okay with it. So I think we'll go for that. I mean, it still is like a 2-2 for 3, which isn't nuts, but can get in some amount of the time, too. And maybe our last card we cut is like 1 more Havoc Devils. I think there is danger of being too high up in the curve in this deck. Sure. Crash Through. If we play Crash Through, can we get away with 15 lands? 15 lands is pretty speculative if we're trying to play Siegebreaker Giant, which I do think is good enough to work up the curve for. I wonder if I should have taken the Tormenting Voice earlier to help deal with Mana Screw just a little bit later in the game. This also is sacrificing creatures. This does work for lands, right? Exile top card your library. You may play that card this turn. Yeah, that's fine. Just as long as we haven't already hit a land drop. Yeah, I guess this is the deck. It feels a little bit bad cutting Havoc Devils because I think that card is pretty good, but... Okay. Oh, it's kind of interesting that we cut a different land. I guess we'll play these ones. Oh, I wonder if it's because those were like ones that we drew from... Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure why it was a different land type there. So, do we want like 6-10? We do really want to play Lightning Mare on time. Although missing on blue will be a little bit rough too. Our mana base is maybe going to be a little bit tight, but I think this is okay. 6-10 looks fine to me. We don't frequently need an island until turn 3, and we're never going to need more than 2 islands. Could cut Snapping Drake and play Havoc Devils, just because it's a little bit easier on the mana base. It's going to be matchup dependent which of those I think is better, but I think this is where we're at now. Cool. 40 cards. I'll see you guys for match 1. Alright, match 1, and we are kind of burned by our lack of mountains here. We could play this anyway. We do have, 10 mountains in the deck is not a small amount. We've probably got about a 1/3 chance of drawing it before we get to Goblin Instigator, and probably getting closer to like 65-70% by turn 3. We do have the Explosive Apparatus into Wind Mage. I think that's probably good enough to keep, but this is a little bit questionable. I could see tossing this one back too. I think a lot of 6-card hands are going to be worse than this. I think probably more than average, but this is not a great hand. Okay, my opponent has mulliganed and scryed to the bottom. Perhaps something we should have done. It's okay. That's okay. This does not necessarily look like the aggressive beatdown start. We're playing our 1 artifact in our deck, but it might look like artifacts. Okay, well, Lightning Mare was a pretty abysmal draw, but that's okay. And unfortunately missed on Mountain for the Goblin Instigator, but hopefully we'll get there sometime. My opponent might be pretty aggressive here too. Okay. Goblin Instigator of their own. And we did find a mountain. Let's go ahead and play our Even Wind Mage. Want to play the mountain there because if we find another red source, it's maybe correct to do Lightning Mare next turn. Probably not, but maybe. And Even Wind Mage, I think will probably block and allow my opponent to have a trick, but they're not even going for it. It looks like they are definitely the aggressive deck as well, though, here. So next turn, Mountain is still a great draw. Okay, missed on that. Explosive Apparatus costs us 3, so we could use that and potentially keep up Shock in the same turn. Alternatively, we can play Goblin Instigator and just be like, hey, these are good trades, but not have up our apparatus. I think that's probably okay. Let's go ahead and swing with our Even Wind Mage, get in for 2, and then hope that these 1/1s just go off the ground pretty well against what my opponent's doing. It worked fairly well against Viashino Pyromancer, certainly. And this also guarantees that we want to use our red source, which is nice. Okay, pretty aggressive start here. Opponent swinging with everything. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just trading. I guess we want to leave the token in play since there is some bounce that we have in the deck. I can't think of a group pump spell that really gets us here. They have one trick, but I'm not unhappy with this. If they're using up their mana to like keep the Viashino Pyromancer alive, that's just not that bad. Wait, what? Is that another bug? Feels like we've had a load of bugs lately. Did I miss something? We just took damage? Did I not block? I thought I blocked. Okay, well that was... Okay, no, I think it is our bug. Okay, I'm gonna hop right back out and I'll be right back in here. Okay, getting back in here. So for those of you that, I guess, haven't seen that bug before, sometimes if one person loses connection, it can make for some weird combat stuff. Okay, but yeah, it looks like everything went correct there. My opponent played Havoc Devils. Let's go ahead and play our Snapping Drake, keep up Shock. And... oh, wow, okay, it used our Mountain. That was kind of bad. That's okay. Alright, take my opponent down to 16. I should have been more careful with how I was tapping there, but we were running out of time a little bit, and I didn't want to get caught. We could also Shock plus Explosive Apparatus in the future. We could just take it down to 13 here. You have a fairly aggressive clock on my opponent. I actually think I'm not sure I want to trade this off. I think we'll just take it. That is a hit. But I don't think trading and giving my opponent two free damage seems fantastic to me. Looks like they are probably mono red. Man, I really wish I had that red source up, because shocking there would have been really nice. Okay, so we shock the ogre, keep up explosive apparatus, swing for 6, take my opponent down to 10. Yeah, I think that's okay. Definitely be better if we could have shocked last turn, because then now we could electrify the Havoc Devils, and then we're just really far ahead on board. But I guess no points crying over spilled milk either. Okay. Kill off the ogre. Get our pseudo prowess out of the Even Wind Mage. And let's go to attacks. Okay. Probably use the apparatus this next turn. We have Electrify to answer Havoc Devils number 1 if my opponent doesn't have another big effect. I have to imagine the Goblin's getting in, right? The Trumpet Blast or whatever doesn't quite get us here. We're just going to take it down to 8. And then next turn we swing, and then the turn after that we probably have lethal, so as long as we don't die in the intermittent turns, I think we've got him. And Explosive Apparatus is really nice, just on-board trick here. My opponent knows about it, which means it can be really hard to play something into it. And if my opponent plays nothing, we'll just shoot the Goblin, not be that unhappy about it. Okay, another Goblin Instigator, fair enough. Pretty good for Trumpet Blast, I think that's our biggest fear here. Because Trumpet Blast will kill us now if my opponent's got it, if we kill the Havoc Devils. No, I guess they'll only have 2 Goblins, that's not quite enough on its own. So yeah, okay, that's okay, because we're killing off one of the Goblins. Ooh, Viashino Pyromancer though. Yeah, I should have waited, that's true. I missed out on, or took an extra couple of damage because I was a little bit too greedy there. I think we do Electrify the Havoc Devils, maybe keep the Wind Mage back to try and block Goblins, and also keep from dying to a lethal attack. The Pyromancer is 2 damage to the face, potentially, which means if we leave the Even Wind Mage back, we can probably stay alive. Is there anything that pumps power cheaply for red? I don't think so, so actually leaving up Electrifying may not be terrible, because it could encourage a bad attack from my opponent. Let's go ahead and swing with Snapping Drake. And that missed shock way back when I think was pretty punishing. Although also not using it on Pyromancer is unfortunate. Is there anything I can think of? Really don't think there is. I'm kind of terrified they might have something. They won't use it before combat anyway, because we're just going to block that. So yeah, I guess maybe we should Electrify now and just remove any chance of my opponent having something. The real advantage is the Aven Windmage just gets a little bit bigger, but Trumpet Blast, it doesn't work against anyway. Opponent crashes in here. That's fine with me. So I think we probably have lethal next turn unless my opponent's sitting on removal. Siegebreaker Giant. Okay, yeah, we got him. Ooh, that was a close game though. So let's go ahead and go to combat. Swing with our Aven Windmage and our Snapping Drake. Play the Pyromancer for the last two. Nice. Okay, yeah, looks like my opponent's mono red. Very, very similar deck to us, honestly. Yeah, that was tight. I think the fact that we went first was a pretty big game there. Gearsmith Prodigy doesn't seem fantastic. It does block Goblin tokens, of which there were many. Havoc Devil seems fine. Although, it's maybe a little bit better on defense than Snapping Drake. Probably swings about as effectively. The Giant's maybe not fantastic, actually. So maybe we cut the Giant and maybe we do go down to 15 lands then. Because if we have the Giant in play, like, it's very, very unlikely. It's not a great blocker, I guess my point is. And if my opponent is on the play, the Giant actually may end up just being a little bit too slow. But maybe we play, like, our Boggart Brute. Learned Scholar actually may not be terrible. It's a pretty good blocker. Uh-oh. Now it's saying we need 60 cards again. I think this happened to me actually last time I had this bug, too, so it may not let us sideboard. Kind of weird. So I guess actually Ogre is probably worse than Scholar. And maybe we keep 16. Oh, we've got the Filled Sea Serpent in there somehow. Okay. Keep 16, but just are a little bit lighter or lower on the curve. Getting land screwed is miserably bad in this matchup too, so maybe this is okay. Yeah, okay, well, I guess we just won't get the sideboard, and it's not terrible. Tolaran Scholar would definitely, I think, be better than our Siegebreaker Giant, but I think I got this bug last time. We had to jump in and out of a game too, unfortunately. That's okay. I'll wait out the time here, and we'll go back in unsideboarded. Definitely some slight apologies to my opponent for making them wait, but I suppose it's alright. This hand's quite good. Let's go ahead and keep. Enigma Drake just being a 0/4 flying blocker actually is probably not even terrible. And I like having Goblin Instigator plus the Dark Dwellers and everything else. This card's a little bit dangerous to just start sacrificing like Goblin tokens willy-nilly because we can just get flooded out by that case, but he sure strikes a nice one. Let's go ahead and play our Goblin Instigator. It blocks the Viashino Pyromancer very effectively. Really, I think a very good 2-drop for the format. Dragon Fodder is not something that is usually all that great, but this deck definitely wants it. An Instigator of their own. Okay. Another island. So we probably swing with like one Goblin here, although then they can crack back with the other two. Do we just want to play Enigma Drake because it's nice and mana efficient? Yeah, if we play Enigma Drake and sit on our hands, our opponent just has no real good attacks. Sure. I think if we can stall out the early game, the advantage of going first matters less and less, and the card starts to matter more and more, so. And fortunately we've had a good combination of lands this time around, so we should be able to play Lightning Marin and the like when we get them. Doesn't match up particularly well against the Goblins, but a fine card. The opponent just has no play, no 4-drop. Might indicate removal. If that's the case, getting Goblin Dark Dwellers into play is pretty nice. Sure. I don't know why I always want to use double red. I just gotta be more careful with my mana, I guess. When Arena was first coming around, I feel like it did a very good job of like splitting these sort of things up, but it's done less well lately. I still don't think we really have any attacks. I guess we can come in for one Goblin now, maybe. So we have a little bit better response now. Is there like a big hasty threat? There is the 3/3. Be a little bit awkward. Shouldn't have played the Oracle as early as we did, and should have been a little bit more careful there, but that's okay. Let's see if my opponent's just inclined to block. I think it looks like they're just taking one. So that could mean something like Trumpet Blast in hand. Trumpet Blast isn't inordinately effective on this board, although it's not terrible either. We would... Another Pyromancer. Do we want to trade in a Goblin for something bigger, more powerful? Havoc Devils on this board would be pretty good. Also just something like Gutter Snipe. Oh, I guess we have to be able to play the card though, so we don't want to sacrifice it now. Yeah. Which actually means doing this in response to removal doesn't work as well as I was thinking it would either. Okay. So maybe some slight misplays there. We could get in with the Pyromancer. We could also just sacrifice a Goblin. That would be bad if we hit Siegebreaker Giant. I think with Trumpet Blast, I'm not even sure I really want to sacrifice. We can swing with Goblin Dark Dwellers. If my opponent's got removal, it gets us pretty good. Problem is I want to start attacking with the Enigma Drake, but just don't have anything really. So maybe I'll just play a Pyromancer and continue sitting on our hands. Yeah, I don't want to use Sure Strike to open mana on my opponent's side, so I guess we'll just pass here. We do have like flyers like Aven Windmage, Snapping Drake that we can find as well that help us break out of this board stall. Gutter Snipe potentially does a pretty good job as the game goes longer. I think that the slow game still favors us. Siegebreaker Giant would be kind of annoying for my opponent, although it'd also be pretty good for us. And even then, it's not that much better than Havoc Devils on this board. Act of Treason. Okay, and gonna sacrifice it to its own ability. I guess we just sacrifice it, right? It's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. And then they don't get any value out of it. We probably don't get to play anything. Actually, we do. So is that until the end of turn? Play that card this turn. I think we can, right? Cool, that's actually a pretty nice hit. That resolves. We have Shock available. We'll cast at the end of the turn. Okay. And just kill off a Viashino Pyromancer. Well, that was really fortunate for us. I don't think that line ends up happening all that often. Ooh, and Crash Through is a great draw. Cycles, makes our Enigma Drake a little bit bigger. Getting a little bit flooded here, but that's okay. Let's go to combat and attack with our Enigma Drake. Also attack with the Pyromancer. This gets in a point of damage. I'm not sure it's going to get much better than the Goblin. Trumpet Blast at some point is still kind of nice if we have lots of attackers. On the other hand, we could have swung with Sure Strike. My opponent probably just doesn't have a trick, right? Otherwise, they probably would have used it to kill Dark Dweller. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to use Act of Treason and just get it out of the hand because it's not fantastic. I'm coming in with everything. Not coming in with everything. Okay, no attacks. There's Trumpet Blast. Would have been very good if we'd hit that off Crash Through. We could swing with everything here, Trumpet Blast, get in for an extra 3 points of damage, potentially mize some extra stuff on my opponent's side. Sure Strike our way through a blocker, maybe. Alright, sure, that actually seems okay. Makes the Enigma Drake bigger. My opponent doesn't seem to have removal for it, at least. Maybe could have Sure Struck last time, and maybe cleared out the way. That probably would have ended up being better. Pyromancer, because I don't think my opponent actually has a trick, even though it would be quite bad if they did. That's the only block. I think I will Trumpet Blast just for a bunch of damage then. Okay, so my opponent is taking 11 at this point. We could Sure Strike and just try and go for lethal. I don't think my opponent's got a trick. Like, is that just too greedy? It could be, but we just put on like a Goblin, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because that brings the Enigma Drake up to 6, the Goblin 6, that's just lethal? I think we'll try it. Possible my opponent's been showing a lot of restraint, but if they have to use removal on this Goblin, it's not terrible either. Okay, I think we might just have him then. Alright, cool. Well, kind of unexpected finish, I think, to that game, but my opponent not blocking with the Goblins. Being at 15 life, you'd think you'd probably be okay, but we did manage to get them kind of out of nowhere there. And yeah, super happy to pick up our match 1 here. Let's jump into match 2. Alright, we are back for match 3. Not going to end up posting match 2 because my opponent timed out before ever making a play. So free wins are awesome, but not super exciting to watch. Let's go ahead and keep this hand, looks pretty good. We've got 2 lands, a bunch of spells. I have Goblin Instigator if we need to on turn 2. Lightning Mirror is maybe even a little bit better. let's go ahead and keep. Ah, we have another classic Vivian versus Nissa matchup. We all know who we are rooting for here. If anyone in chat knows what's the Eindhoven App Gordwif? Is that something? People know this? Am I just oblivious, or is that just a fun username? Alright, let's see what my opponent follows up with here. Started off with a forest. That can definitely go a couple ways in the format, but it usually means big stuff. Alright, well, missed on red, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we'll start off with our Goblin Instigator, and hopefully find another spell before next turn? Or another land before next turn? We had a couple of draws to do it. Third time's the charm, right? Okay, opponent looks like it's possible they're maybe stuck on colors. Ooh, Elvish Rejuvenator. Okay. A pretty good, like, interactive card with the Goblin Instigator, but not quite as good as, like, a 2/2. Oh man, we missed. Okay, well, we will attack. That's what this deck does. Yeah, I really hope to find one next turn before we have to discard, because that would be brutal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my opponent wants to trade here. They just grab another forest. It's a little bit interesting. Another forest, or they just mono green. That's possible. I think that's less likely in something like mono red. Rock's Oracle. Alright, that's pretty good. Okay, we did find another land, which is great. What do I want to play? So I don't really want to do Exclusion Mage. I don't want to let my opponent just draw another free card. A Lightning Mare would be okay. Enigma Drake doesn't trade for the Rock's Oracle just yet. Gutter Snipe is okay, but might commit us to, like, electrifying the Oracle next turn, which is not really all that great for us. I think it actually might be a Lightning Mare here, and we'll just try and trade for the Oracle. That's not the end of the world. Sure. No attacks, and we'll just pass. I guess we could have played Gutter Snipe with the intent to trade with the Rock's Oracle. It's slightly more mana efficient. It feels bad to throw away one of our better uncommons, although we don't have, like, a stupidly high amount of spells, so I don't think Gutter Snipe is nuts in this deck. Oaken Form. Okay, well, Exclusion Mage is going to be good against that, at least. Okay. Yeah, I really don't see any reason not to go for it here. My opponent get to draw again, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at least we get to get rid of Oaken Form. And we get to bash for 4, which is a not nothing. Exclusion Mage showing off just why it's so good, especially in a format where there are a lot of auras running around. Or at least potentially a lot of auras running around. Okay. So drawing few lands with this deck is not necessarily bad. Like, we've been a little bit slower off the bat than I would like to be, but it's also, like, that means we have more spells in the late game. And getting Flood, I think, is worse than getting a little bit screwed. Okay, Rock's Oracle. So if we find a land, we can get my opponent pretty good here, because we get to go Gutter Snipe Shock. Ooh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think I am all on board with that line here. Okay, we are not using up our last mountain, right? Okay, not using up the last mountain. And we'll hope my opponent just doesn't have Trick here. Titanic Growth, I guess, would be a little bit awkward, but not even miserably bad. Nice. Yeah, now my opponent is very close to dead. Yeah, that was pretty good there. So this next turn we can Electrify. If my opponent plays something medium-sized, maybe just kill them. And I guess, even if it's not medium-sized, Electrify might be able to go the distance. And if they have multiple blockers, we maybe don't get there. Yeah, it looks like they were cut off on planes, so it looks like they had kind of a tough draw that we've been able to take advantage of with some pretty powerful uncommons. Knight's Pledge. Okay. I guess showing off Electrify is probably less bad than Disperse, and I don't really want to show Trumpet Blast. So we're just really choosing which way we want to kill our opponent here. But I guess Electrify seems as good as any. Well, actually, I guess Electrify does 5 to my opponent, they block the biggest, and they're still dead even if they have a trick. Oh. Get cancel on accident. Alright. I guess that was not on accident, but now we can't target anything? Oh, there we go. Cool, it was just a little bit of a lag, I think. Alright, so let's show off Electrify. It should still be lethal. Even if my opponent has a trick, and... Okay, opponent calls out the good game. Go ahead and attack. Okay, well, opponent had a tough draw there. One thing I do dislike about Arena is there's no easy way to commiserate, because if I say, like, good game, I don't know, a lot of times it comes across as being snarky, and it does suck getting mana screwed, and that is exactly what happened to my opponent there, I think. Siegebreaker Giant looks good. Active Treason probably has its place in this deck, although it's less good if there's a bunch of Elvish Rejuvenators, which there were. Stealing something big like a Colossal Dreadmaw or the like is very solid, though. I guess maybe does anything look bad in our deck? Really like Exclusion Mage. These all seem fine. Disperse seems fine. Apparatus still works okay against the rocks, whatever that card is. I think I'm just gonna run it back. Maybe next game we get to see a little bit more of what my opponent's doing. Maybe Active Treason's just good if they're trying to enchant up some big stuff. They may have to trade away the Rejuvenators early anyway. So maybe Axe good. Maybe it's better than Siegebreaker Giant? Probably not by tons. Still like Trumpet Blast. I'm not really sure what to cut for it, although it does feel like Act could be quite good. Maybe we lose a Havoc Devils. Feels bad taking out the Giant. Yeah, maybe we lose the Havoc Devils. It's just kind of high in the curve. It's really not a big thing to be, what's the word? Like, that's not a real big sin, to just be a little bit too big, but I think that is the case in this deck, that we want to be as low to the ground and cheap on our casting cost as possible. We're not trying to win off value, we're trying to win off tempo. Okay, looks like a fine hand. Let's go ahead and keep. Go Lightning Mare into Boggart Brute, have Shock maybe to help force the Boggart Brute through. We can shock anything my opponent plays here that's a reasonable blocker. Or alternatively, we can go Lightning Bearer and then Lightning Bearer into shock the next turn. Okay, Dark Dweller. Pretty solid. I think Lightning Bearer is a little bit better early on in the game. My opponent plays Rejuvenator, I guess. Well, actually maybe Dark Dweller would be better against Rejuvenator. If they don't have it though, the 3 damage is really nice. Well, don't have it. Nice. Doesn't look like they do. Nope. Nope, nice. So I think we're gonna play another Lightning Mare and just keep up shock. Just be as ruthlessly efficient as we can be here. Oh, no, we do not want to activate that. This deck seems pretty solid. I mean, it's a fairly slow format, so if you can play a good aggressive deck in a slow format, a lot of the time that does get your opponent pretty good. So they're expecting to be able to play like 4 and 5 drops, and by that time they're already pretty far behind on board. It's possible we don't have a great answer to this, although Lightning Mare probably can swing through whatever's on 4. If we have to pump it, we can pump it. Pyromancer's Cage. Okay. Good clean answer. Not like hyper efficient or anything, but good clean answer. Okay, Explosive Apparatus. So we could play Brute and keep up Shock, or we could play the Apparatus to go along with it. Yeah, I actually kind of like the Apparatus, because then potentially we can go like Shock the next turn. That's pretty good. So let's hit with Lightning Mare. Oh, I'm gonna do that a lot. Swing. Hitting for damage. Play our Brute. Doesn't matter, we're tapping all our mountains here. Play our Apparatus. Pass the turn. Okay, so we potentially can do as much as 10 damage. We could do 12 damage next turn, I guess. Not quite to lethal. Oh yeah, my opponent looks like they've just had a pretty flooded draw, unfortunately for them. They could be like an instant speed shenanigans thing, although I think we've got pretty good answers if they do have that. Let's go ahead and swing with both of these guys. And if they just allow it through, I guess we'll just play Havoc Devils. And almost certainly have lethal with Trumpet Blast plus Shock next turn. Oh, I think we bugged again. Man, that's been happening a lot lately. Yeah, I guess let's hop back out. We didn't get to play the Havoc Devils. Oh, did I end? Oh, I might have ended turn, didn't I? Actually, I think I did. That's my bad then. Okay, so we still have lethal though, right? Because we can crack Explosive Apparatus. Although, let's make sure we don't use all of our red sources. We'll shoot my opponent, Trumpet Blast, and kill with the Boggart Brute. Okay. Oh, no, we did bug, for sure. Okay. Let me hop out again. So, seen that bug a couple times in a row. Not really sure why. Hopefully things come back here. This is not looking promising. Maybe Arena's just having a particularly bad day. It's possible too. Alright, we're restarting for another time. Hopefully this time is the charm. I don't know why it does this like dark and dark. Last time I did this did not fix though. I cannot interact with anything on the board. I don't actually really know what we can do about this. Oh, my turn. Draw? We're in some sort of like weird limbo state. I really don't want to concede, but I guess maybe that's what we should do. Well, I mean, I think we did have lethal that game. I think we were going to take down my opponent, so I guess we can feel like we had a moral victory no matter what ends up happening here. I'm going to figure out these... Oh. I just heard... Oh, we lost. Okay, sure. That's kind of unfortunate, but I guess it is what it is. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Man, Arena I felt like used to be relatively bug-free. I was always really impressed with it as a beta, but it feels like we have had some serious problems these last couple of matches. The M19 release definitely seems to have not been a particularly clean one. But that's okay, still a beta. They're working things out, I have faith. Yes, let's go into our next match and see if we can't still go the different distance, but feels bad, man, feels bad. Alright, we are back for match 4. Since last we spoke, I have completely reinstalled Magic Arena, so hopefully that will stop the slew of bugs that we've been seeing. I think this hand is pretty good. We've got Crash Through, which is a fine like filler card. Probably play that on turn 1 and cycle. We could wait to get value out of Aven Wind Mage, but probably don't need to. And beyond that, we've got Boggart Brute and Wind Mage. All seems good. We draw a Mountain, we get to play Havoc Devils eventually. I think I'm just going to cycle this. It does still have value with getting a spell into the graveyard for Niv-Madrake. Maybe we should sandbag it since it's so good with Gutter Snipe. It does have value with Wind Mage. But I kind of feel like I want to curve like Brute into Havoc Devils, and finding a 2-drop would not be terrible. So I think we're going to play Crash Through and just draw our card here. Alright. So a Mountain is good if we find like Lightning Mare or something. And we do want one eventually anyway, so that's not the end of the world. Opponent hasn't played anything here in the first couple of turns. Looks like maybe... Interesting. So probably just drew the Swift Claw. Looks probably like base white. Not really sure if they're splashing for green or for black, or if they just truly are like a 3-color deck. I feel like I've seen a lot of people play 3 colors. It's not something I'm super impressed by, but it does seem to not be that uncommon. I'm playing Boggart Brute. I think it's likely my opponent swings with the Swift Claw next turn, and I think I'd rather make sure we get 3 damage in rather than just 2 from the Aven Wind Mage. Wind Mage also has the advantage of being a little bit better later in the game, perhaps. Okay. Swift Claw is actually a reasonable amount of damage. We do have Electrify to get that clean 2-for-1. I think we are just going to use it here. I think it's too expensive otherwise. We could play Havoc Devils and try and block that way. I guess that's not the worst. If my opponent has removal, we go down to 8. Also, if they try and enchant it up again, we maybe just lose at that point. They could have the Indestructible effect, which would be pretty awkward. I kind of like just electrifying it here and not getting too greedy. This plays around everything but the Indestructible. And that actually might be 2 mana now that I think about it. I should probably figure that out. It might be the +1/+0. I think it actually might be 2. Make a Stand, I think is what it's called. Okay. Boggart Brute. We'll get in here and even up the damage count. And I think we're just going to play our Siegebreaker Giant. If my opponent wants to swing, I think we will just allow it to go past us and crash in with the Giant next turn. Possible my opponent just won't attack, which is okay as well. Take Vengeance. Okay. A nice clean answer to a pretty good card. Let's see if they have a follow-up. Another Oakenform. Okay. Well, that does hit pretty hard. So what's our line here? We can take 7. We hit my opponent back down to 8. And then between... I guess we can play Havoc Devils, but don't necessarily have another block. We're double blocking with Havoc Devils and Siegebreaker Giant. That's pretty poor. We could just keep throwing chump blockers in front. I don't think I'm blocking, I guess, here regardless. Which means I should maybe wait until we draw our next card and see where we stand. Okay, so Shock means that the Giant actually does trade with the Wolves. Can also swing, play Havoc Devils. My opponent goes down to 8 at that point. If we chump, we swing with the Giant next turn and have Shock to remove a blocker. That's probably actually good enough, right? 8. We remove a blocker for the Siegebreaker Giant and swing, and that's just enough. I guess let's go with that. I think that's our best line. Play the Havoc Devils. Plan on chump blocking. Go to attacks. If we need to, I guess we can Shock to get rid of something on our opponent's turn, and Trumpet Blast is also enough. Okay, my opponent's like Oakenform.deck here, though. Ooh, Mighty Leap. Well, I don't think we actually had anything that worked around that. That is pretty good for my opponent, though. GG, GG. And hopefully this is not the last match of the series. That was a fast one, though. Disperse seems like it's going to be pretty good here. We want to change anything. Ghost Form doesn't seem particularly good. Siegebreaker Giant might be a little bit slow. We maybe would just rather have like Havoc Devils. Make sure that our curve's kept low. Active Treason actually seems pretty darn good. Ogre may not be terrible. It's just a little bit higher toughness is good. My opponent looks like they're deploying one threat and equipping it up a lot of the time. Wind Mage, I think, actually seems a little bit worse than the Ogre. And Snapping Drake actually seems a little bit worse than the Havoc Devils. I can't realistically see this degenerating into a board stall, so the flyers lose some of their value. Which means I think we can maybe chop down one island and bring in one mountain, which has some advantage as well. Okay, I think that's where we're sitting now. Oh, we're at 41. Oh, because I brought in the Active Treason. So I guess we won't play one of the Havoc Devils. I think that's okay. I think I still do want the Giant on the play at least. Okay, let's run this back. Alright. Unfortunately, gonna have to take a mulligan here. Yeah, not much to be said about it. One land is just not enough, especially when you're on the play. Hopefully we can draw a slightly better 6. I guess we'll keep it. This is not great. Gutter Snipe, huh? It's a non-land. It's kind of slow. I'm worried my opponent's just going to run us over, but I think I'm going to put this on top. It's not my favorite thing. Makes me want to hold on to Crash Through, but I think getting a 2-drop is still just probably better. Maybe we should Crash Through and hope to find something this next turn. That's not impossible. I'm worried about this. It's possible my opponent had an unusually aggressive start with all the Oakenforms too. There's the Swiftclaw, which I think that the Gutter Snipe's just gonna trade for. I guess we could just Explosive Apparatus it. That's maybe not terrible. Probably better than trading the Gutter Snipe away. Sure. Gutter Snipe has some utility late game. Apparatus is not bad to have as... I guess we maybe should have done this on our opponent's turn too, because obviously they're not going to do it with an onboard trick. Yeah, I think that was a mistake. They want to use up all their mana to get it through this turn. That's not the end of the world for us, although it would be pretty good if they had like Titanic Growth. Okay, they missed on a play that turn. That's good. Maybe it lets us twist the advantage in our favor. Havoc Devils is a pretty good beatdown target. And we're going to play another one next turn, so assuming they can't put up like a fantastic blocker, we could probably start moving into the lead as far as the race goes. Yeah, we're just going to attack here. My opponent wants to trade. I'm okay with the trade and a couple of extra damage. And we'll play another one. We're running out of resources some here. Just part of that's us going first, and part of that's because we had the mulligan. Regal Bloodlord. Okay, that's not a card I would have expected. I guess my opponent can't have anything here, so no real reason to play the Gutter Snipe first. We're not going to end up using Sure Strike. Okay, hit my opponent. Life gain. Yes, not what I expected. And we'll pass the turn here. So next turn, these both can probably swing, though. With Sure Strike in our hand. Ooh, Shield Mare. So whenever it specifically becomes a targeted ability, or when it enters the battlefield, you still get 3 in life. Okay, pretty good. It's gonna be pretty nice for holding pants as well. Yeah, unfortunately can't do anything about that. Rest in peace, Havoc Devils. Ooh, man, might be a quick end to the series. That makes our free loss last match even a little bit more of a sting. Active Treason. That still can let us kind of win out of nowhere. I think we're going to swing with the Gutter Snipe. We'll use Sure Strike to get through if my opponent wants to allow it. Yeah, we're just going to pass here. Take a non-zero amount of damage. I'm kind of hoping my opponent gets greedy at some point and, like, pantses up one of these things. Ugh, Knight of the Tusk is rough. Yeah, I'm not sure we're gonna fight our way through this one. So we still do have a considerable amount of life. We could Active Treason, grab the Knight of the Tusk, swing. That's 3, 5, 7 damage. Could be as much as 10 damage. Oh, I guess plus Gutter Snipe, that's 12. So maybe with Boggart Brute, if my opponent gets frisky next turn and swings with a lot of this stuff, we could maybe get them. If they play another creature spell, it's going to be tough to fight our way through. But it's only 10, right? Which is... wait, 5. No, I guess it'd be 12. We need 2 more spells to get it done. I think we just play Boggart Brute and ass here. The Vigilance on this guy is annoying because it means that our Active Treason gets quite a bit worse. We still could steal this, though. Okay, Talons of Wildwood, sure. Okay, opponent playing... oop, I was going to say kind of conservatively, maybe. We will take our Elix, go down to 4, and try to win this next turn somehow. Okay, so do we have Xaxes then? We steal this if they don't have anything. That is 8 damage, 12 damage, 15 damage. Let's give it a shot. My opponent has pretty much anything we lose, but we might just steal this game out of nowhere, which would be pretty sweet. Gutter Snipe doing some good work. Back with everything. Play Sure Strike. On the Knight of the Tusk, because it's the least likely to die, I guess. Although if anything dies, it's over, so... Did we manage to mize our victory? I think we might have. Ooh, alright, nice. Wow, that was an unexpected success, but did manage to get there. So my opponent looked a little bit less hyphy that game. I think Siegebreaker Giant is likely to be good. Still don't hate pulling these guys out, since I think just efficient beaters on the ground maybe end up being a little bit better. On the other hand, these are nice to be able to get through past like a Knight of the Tusk or the like as well. I think getting just damage in early may be more important as... it's close. I think I'm going to keep the Drakes out. Maybe Ogre just like trades down too often. Yeah, maybe I'll cut Ogre. I think I do want to keep Active Treason in, although it also gets a little bit worse once my opponent's seen it once. And my opponent, like I said, was building out a board a little bit more. I think we were pretty fortunate that it ended up being good that game. So maybe we cut Active Treason, maybe we bring in the Wind Mage. Alright. We'll see which one we'd rather have, but... Active Treason does get worse if my opponent's not just Voltroning. And it looks like their first attempt at that was maybe a little bit out of the norm. Okay, this hand's pretty good. It's gonna leverage Trumpet Blast quite well, I think. Let's go ahead and keep. Start off with our Goblin Instigator. And actually we'll start off with Lightning Mare probably if we get another red source, but... Okay, Daybreak Chaplain. And another Lightning Mare. Well, I think we'll still just play Goblin Instigator. We actually don't have particularly good blocks here. It's possible we should go for Pyromancer since it maybe can swing through a 3-drop more often. And if my opponent swings at the Chaplain, maybe that's a little bit better to try and get back. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll stick with the Pyromancer. And we can keep my opponent from swinging with their Chaplain for a couple of turns. That is upside. Okay, both Lightning Mares without double red sources. A little bit clunky. Okay, my opponent not getting anything quite here. Interesting. Okay, Boggart Brute means our mana is a little bit more efficient. Happy with that. I'm also happy trading a point of damage for a point of damage with my opponent. So I'm a little bit surprised they went for the Daybreak Chaplain, unless they really do think they have a pretty aggressive hand. Daybreak Chaplain's a little bit annoying though, because it does carry an Oaken form so very, very well. Now we really need to draw like Exclusion Mage or Disperse, or I think we're losing in pretty short order. Just because the life gain is expensive for us. So we could play a Gutter Snipe and try and triple block. We could try and fight our way through the life gain, but I think it's going to be really hard. Let's see, we swing, we take them down to 16, then they go back up to 20. We're only doing 1 point of damage that way. If we ever get an Exclusion Mage, it ends up being quite a bit better. If they have any trick, it blows us out, but maybe we just have to take that. I guess if we're blocking, I maybe would rather play the Instigator, even though it's a little bit less mana efficient. That's the case, we're left with one Goblin in play instead of being left with the Pyromancer in play, but we do have a Gutter Snipe as well. Alright, I think the Instigator is our best line and pass. This is unfortunate though. And Daybreak Chaplain with Oaken form is either fantastic against us or quite bad against us. And it's looking more on the fantastic bandwagon here. I guess, I don't think there's any just +1/+1 effect. Guess maybe we should block with the Goblin instead of the Instigator in case they randomly have like a bounce spell later. This is going to be pretty good for them even if they don't have a trick, and if they've got a trick, I think that's just game. I don't think we were realistically racing that though, so... Okay, so we play Havoc Devils and pass the turn. Opponent will crack in with the Daybreak Chaplain, go up a bunch more life. And then the problem is just a little bit later, like a Knight of the Tusk or something, almost certainly gets the game done for my opponent. Body Leap was good. Ooh. Making us discard and pay some life. Yeah, Fel Spectre looks pretty good here. Okay, we have Lightning Mare plus Gutter Snipe. I think we do have to try and block again. Could swing at the Havoc Devils and then all of these together fight the Daybreak Chaplain. And we have a Havoc Devils in play. I think that's better than Gutter Snipe, probably. We could just go Gutter Snipe plus Havoc Devils as blockers, though. That's pretty okay, right? Let's play Lightning Mare. Play Gutter Snipe. Pass. Sitting on our hands. We're definitely pretty far down this game, but you never know. I actually don't think we are strictly out. Another Oaken form's bad, though. Just the flyer in general is painful for us. And Daybreak Chaplain's gonna be hard to get through. Shield Mare, sure. Just another unblockable threat as well. Yeah, Goblin Motivator showing its face for the first time, and not a particularly impressive one. Oop, sorry about that. I think we were just dead, unfortunately. I guess we will play our Goblin Motivator and pass. And maybe my opponent will be not greedy with the attacks, but yeah, the Daybreak Chaplain, especially with the Mighty Leap, I think sealed our fate this game. But we managed to win the last game kind of out of nowhere, so the opponent did give us another opportunity. Okay, Starcrown Stag is a good one, but not quite enough to win the game necessarily. Enigma Drake, which is just a chump blocker at this point. Sure. Let's cast Enigma Drake. And pass the turn. But again, I think I see the writing on the wall this game around. We just did not draw our Exclusion Mages and the like, unfortunately. Unwilling to swing with the Shield Mare. I wonder if my opponent... Oh, that's true. That doesn't actually matter, because Starcrown Stag can pull the Enigma Drake out of the air. Alright. No blocks. And we are very dead. Well, a disappointing end to the series, I think. I think had we maybe managed to actually take down that last match, we could keep going. Since I think that was a close loss, but just finishing 2-2 is, not exciting, certainly. We'll claim our prizes, though, get a few more core set packs, and I guess we'll open them right now for your viewing entertainment. Ooh, Victus Asmadi the Dire. Pretty sweet card. I'm not sure it's something you realistically can play in Constructed since it doesn't have a like great enter the battlefield effect and it costs 6. Costing 6 and dying to removal is not fantastic, but ooh, Supreme Phantom's cool though. I could definitely see a Spirits deck being something we'd try out in the future. And Mystic Archaeologist, also a pretty cool potential like card advantage engine. It's again a little bit weak to just removal in general, and paying 7 for a Divination, even if your opponent has to use like a Magma Spray or something to kill off the Archaeologist, is probably not quite good enough, but let's talk about the deck. So I think the deck ended up being pretty good, honestly. Again, we kind of lost one match with that we should have won, I guess. And I think that the second match that we lost was also fairly close. I could see my opponent's deck being fairly inconsistent, and sometimes it draws quite well, and we don't have the answers that we need, and sometimes we do, and we kind of just tend to win if we have an Exclusion Mage or Disperse, and kind of lose if we don't. But overall, I think it was solid. Could have used maybe a little bit more 2-drops. Lightning's Mare, I think, continues to be a little bit unimpressive. That double red cost is just very expensive, and we had multiple games where we wanted to play on turn 2 but couldn't quite get there. But Guttersnipe, I think, did pretty solid. Helped us steal a couple of games from my opponent having really, really high life totals. It was pretty impressive using Trumpet Blast plus Sure Strike with a Guttersnipe on the battlefield. And I guess I think a Barter Brute, just do 15 kind of out of nowhere. That was pretty cool. Siegebreaker Giant didn't actually shine all that much in this in this series, but I think probably still quite good. Yeah, overall, I think an impressive, solid blue-red deck. I think that it's got a place in the format for sure. I think that it probably a little bit underperformed given our record. I think this deck was actually pretty good. But that's it for now. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys an awful lot. I'll see you guys next time.